How can a single wild night at a club turn into a public, lawful ending for a marriage? What starts as a harmless dance and a few viral videos ends with a knock at the door and a stack of legal papers that change everything? Can I still call my husband the villain when the world sees the result? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Ottilie Gray, and I'm 32 years old. I work as an administrative assistant at a downtown insurance firm, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had a pretty good life. My husband Caleb is 35, works in accounting, and we've been married for 8 years. We have 2 kids, Emma, who's 6, and little Jake, who just turned 4. The night that changed everything started like any other Friday. Caleb was being his usual quiet self, sitting on the couch with his laptop, probably working on some spreadsheet or budget. I was getting ready to go out with my coworker Nate Palmer and some friends. We'd planned to hit the new downtown club that everyone was talking about. "You sure you don't want to come?" I asked Caleb, even though I already knew his answer. He looked up from his screen with those tired brown eyes. "You know, clubs aren't my thing, Ottilie. Have fun, though." I rolled my eyes. "When's the last time we did anything exciting together?" "We went to dinner last weekend," he said quietly. "That boring Italian place where we sat in silence for an hour. Come on, Caleb, live a little." He just shrugged and went back to his laptop. This was exactly why I needed a night out. 8 years of marriage, and my husband had turned into the most boring man on earth. When we first met, he used to surprise me with weekend trips and spontaneous dates. Now, he spent Friday nights doing taxes and organizing receipts. I finished getting ready. Black dress, heels, makeup that took an hour to perfect. When I walked past the living room, Caleb looked up again. "You look nice," he said. "Thanks." I grabbed my purse and keys. "Don't wait up." The club was everything I'd hoped for. Loud music, flashing lights, and energy I hadn't felt in years. Nate introduced me to his friend Rafa Silva, a club promoter who was absolutely gorgeous. Dark hair, perfect smile, and the kind of confidence that made you want to be near him. "So you're the famous Ottilie that Nate's always talking about," Rafa said, his accent making everything sound more interesting. "Famous? Hardly," I laughed, already feeling the effects of my second cocktail. "Beautiful women like you should be famous," he said, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Desired. The music was incredible, and before I knew it, Rafa and I were dancing. Not just regular dancing, the kind of close, sensual dancing that makes you forget where you are. His hands were on my waist, my back was against his chest, and for the first time in months, I felt alive. "Your husband's a lucky man," Rafa whispered in my ear during a slow song. "My husband's at home doing paperwork," I replied, not caring how that sounded. That's when Nate started taking videos. "Ottilie, you look amazing. This is going straight to Instagram." I should have stopped him. I should have remembered that social media is forever, that my family and coworkers follow me online. But the attention felt so good. The likes and comments started pouring in immediately. "Get it, girl. Living your best life. Where's hubby?" I posted my own video, captioning it. Finally remembering what it feels like to dance. Some people prefer spreadsheets, but I choose life. Rafa spun me around, dipped me low, and I threw my head back and laughed. The camera captured everything, his hands on my body, the way I looked at him, how completely I'd forgotten about everything else. When I got home around 2 a.m, Caleb was still awake. He was sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open, but he wasn't looking at the screen. He was looking at his phone. "Good time?" he asked quietly. "Amazing time," I said, kicking off my heels. "You should have come." "I saw," he said, holding up his phone. My stomach dropped a little, but I pushed the feeling away. "So, I was dancing. It's not illegal." "No," he said, "it's not illegal." Something in his voice made me defensive. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, Ottilie. I'm going to bed. He closed his laptop, picked up his phone, and walked toward our bedroom. But instead of going inside, he turned toward the guest room. Where are you going? Guest room. You seem like you need space to think about your evening. Caleb, don't be dramatic. It was just dancing. He paused in the doorway. Was it? Then he went inside and closed the door quietly. Not a slam, not a fight, just a quiet click that somehow felt worse than yelling would have. I stood in the kitchen, still in my dress, looking at my phone. The videos had hundreds of views already. Comments kept coming in. Most were supportive, but a few made me uncomfortable. Damn, that's not dancing, that's foreplay. Poor husband Lowell. Get a room already. I deleted those comments and focused on the positive ones. I was a grown woman. I could dance with whoever I wanted. Caleb was just jealous because he never wanted to have fun anymore. But as I got ready for bed alone, I couldn't shake the image of his face when he looked up from his phone. He hadn't looked angry. He'd looked disappointed, and somehow that felt worse. I checked my phone one more time before sleep. The main video had over 1,000 views now. Rafa had commented with fire emojis. Nate had shared it to his story with "My girl Ottilie," showing everyone how it's done. This was good, I told myself. This was me taking back my life, showing the world that I wasn't just some boring housewife. If Caleb couldn't appreciate what he had, maybe it was time he learned what he could lose. I fell asleep scrolling through comments, each like and heart emoji feeding something hungry inside me that I'd forgotten existed. I woke up Saturday morning to an empty house. Caleb had taken the kids to his mother's house for the weekend. Something about a family barbecue I'd forgotten about. Usually, I would have been annoyed about missing family time, but honestly, I was relieved. I needed space to process everything. My phone was buzzing constantly. The club videos had exploded overnight. Thousands of views, hundreds of comments, dozens of shares. I'd never had anything go viral before, and the attention was intoxicating. At work on Monday, everyone was talking about it. Nate was practically bouncing with excitement. Ottilie, you're famous. My phone's been going crazy all weekend. People are asking who you are, if you're single, where that club is. You're like an influencer now. I laughed, but part of me was thrilled. It's just a silly video, Nate. Are you kidding? You've got natural charisma. That chemistry with Rafa was insane. Speaking of which, he's been asking about you. My heart skipped. Really? Yeah, he wants to take you out properly, show you some other spots around the city. I should have said no. I should have remembered that I was married, that I had children, that viral videos aren't real life. But Caleb had been so cold all weekend. When he'd brought the kids home Sunday night, he'd barely spoken to me. He'd helped them with baths and bedtime, then disappeared into the guest room again with another stack of papers. I don't know, Nate. Things with Caleb are complicated right now. Complicated how? Because he's boring? Ottilie, you're 32 years old. You're gorgeous, you're fun, and you deserve to be appreciated. If your husband can't see that, maybe it's time to explore your options. That afternoon, I found Caleb in his study when I got home from work. He had spreadsheets open on his computer and a notebook beside him where he was writing something by hand. What are you working on? I asked, trying to sound casual. Organizing some things, he said without looking up. What kind of things? Financial records, insurance policies, that kind of stuff. I noticed he'd labeled several folders on his desk: household, auto, bank statements, legal. The last one made me nervous. Legal? What do you need legal documents for? Finally, he looked at me. Just being thorough, Ottilie, making sure everything's in order. In order for what? For whatever comes next. The way he said it sent a chill down my spine. Caleb, you're scaring me. What's going on? You tell me. You're the one dancing with other men and posting it online for the world to see. It was just dancing. God, why are you making such a big deal about this? Was it just dancing? He turned his computer screen toward me. He'd pulled up the videos from Friday night, not just mine, but ones other people had posted. From different angles, with different lighting, they looked worse, more intimate, more like I was cheating on my husband in public while hundreds of people watched. You've been watching these all weekend? I've been trying to understand what my wife was thinking when she decided to humiliate our family online. Humiliate? I was having fun, something you seem to have forgotten how to do. Fun. He said the word like it tasted bitter. Is that what you call it when you grind on another man while wearing your wedding ring? I looked down at my hand. I'd been wearing my ring that night. In every video, every photo, it was clearly visible. You're overreacting, I said, but my voice sounded weak even to me. Am I? He clicked to another tab. Because your friend Rafa seems to think it was more than dancing. Look at his Instagram story. My blood ran cold. Rafa had posted a photo of us from that night with the caption, "When you meet someone special, Haring worth the wait." I didn't know he posted that, I whispered, but you knew how it looked when you were doing it. I wanted to argue, but something in his voice stopped me. Caleb wasn't yelling. He wasn't throwing things or making threats. He was speaking in the same calm, methodical tone he used when he was solving a problem at work. Somehow that was more terrifying than if he'd been screaming. What do you want me to do, Caleb? Delete the videos? Stop going out? Become a hermit like you? I want you to decide what you want, Ottilie, because I'm done pretending this marriage is working. The words hit me like a physical blow. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm tired of being married to someone who thinks so little of me that she'll publicly humiliate me and then act like I'm the problem for being hurt. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. And the worst part is, you don't even care. You're more upset about me being disappointed than you are about doing something disappointing. He was right, and I hated him for it. I was more annoyed about his reaction than I was sorry about my actions. But admitting that felt like admitting I was a terrible person. So what happens now? I asked. Now I finish organizing these documents, and you decide whether you want to be married to me or keep pursuing whatever this is with Rafa. There's nothing with Rafa. Then prove it. Delete his number. Block him on social media. Stop going out to clubs and posting videos of yourself with other men. That's controlling, Caleb. No, Ottilie. Asking your wife not to cheat on you in public isn't controlling. It's basic respect. I wanted to argue more, but something in his expression stopped me. He looked tired in a way that went beyond physical exhaustion. He looked like a man who'd already made up his mind about something. That night, he slept in the guest room again. I lay in our bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out when everything had gone so wrong. My phone buzzed with a text from Rafa. Thinking about you. When can I see you again? I stared at the message for a long time before deleting it without responding, but I didn't block his number. The next morning, I found a note from Caleb on the kitchen counter. Taking kids to school. Working late tonight. Dinner's in the fridge. He'd made my favorite pasta salad and left it with a note that said, "For Ottilie," in his careful handwriting. Even when he was angry with me, he was still taking care of me. It made me feel worse somehow. At work, Nate was still riding high on the viral video success. "So, did you text Rafa back? He's been asking about you all week." "Nate, I'm married." "Barely, from what you've told me. When's the last time your husband took you somewhere nice? When's the last time he made you feel beautiful?" I thought about the pasta salad and the careful note, but I didn't mention it. "Rafa's having a party this weekend at this rooftop bar downtown. Very exclusive, very fun. You should come." "I don't think that's a good idea." "Why? Because your husband might see it online." "Ottilie, you're living your life in fear of what other people think. That's not living at all." Maybe he was right. Maybe I was letting Caleb's jealousy control me. Maybe I deserved to have fun, to feel wanted, to remember what it was like to be desired. "What kind of party?" I heard myself asking. Nate grinned, the kind where beautiful people dance under the stars and forget about their problems for a while. When I got home that evening, Caleb was in his study again. The door was closed, but I could hear him talking quietly on the phone. I pressed my ear to the door and caught fragments. Documented everything. Yes, I have copies. Friday at 10. Understand. When the talking stopped, I quickly moved away from the door. A few minutes later, Caleb emerged with a manila envelope in his hand. Going somewhere? I asked. Just dropping something off, he said, not meeting my eyes. What kind of something? Nothing you need to worry about right now. But I was worried. The way he'd been organizing documents, the phone calls, the manila envelope. It all felt like preparation for something I wasn't going to like. After he left, I tried to get into his study, but he'd locked the door. That had never happened before in 8 years of marriage. Caleb didn't lock doors in our house. He didn't keep secrets. Except now he was keeping secrets, and I was starting to understand that maybe I'd pushed him too far. But instead of feeling sorry, I felt angry. How dare he lock me out of a room in my own house? How dare he act like I'd committed some unforgivable sin when all I'd done was dance with someone? I texted Rafa back, "Tell me more about this party." The rooftop party was exactly what I needed. Rafa had outdone himself, string lights everywhere, a DJ spinning perfect music, and a crowd of beautiful, interesting people who made me feel like I belonged somewhere special. "You look incredible," Rafa said when I arrived. He was wearing a black button-down that fit him perfectly, and his smile made my stomach flutter. "Thank you. This place is amazing." "Wait until you see the view from the dance floor." He led me to the center of the rooftop, where couples were dancing under the stars. The city spread out below us, twinkling and alive. For a moment, I forgot about everything. Caleb's cold silence, the locked study door, the manila envelope. "Dance with me," Rafa said, and I melted into his arms. We moved together like we'd been partners for years. His hands were confident on my waist, his body warm against mine. When he spun me around, I threw my head back and laughed, feeling free for the first time in weeks. "There she is," he murmured in my ear. "The woman from the club." I was starting to think I'd imagined her. "She's been hiding," I admitted. "From what?" "Boring husband, boring life, boring everything." "Life's too short for boring," he said, pulling me closer. Nate appeared with his phone out, already recording. "You two are magic together. This is going straight online." I should have stopped him. After everything that had happened with Caleb, I should have been more careful. But the music was perfect, Rafa was perfect, and I was tired of living my life according to my husband's insecurities. "Make sure you get my good side," I joked, posing dramatically. The video Nate posted was even more intimate than the club footage. Rafa and I were dancing close, his face buried in my neck, my hands tangled in his hair. The caption read, "When you know, Chakshan chemistry, Jocha rooftop vibes, living your best lives." Within an hour, it had hundreds of views. The comments were a mix of support and criticism. "Girl, you are glowing." Isn't she married?" "Live your truth, queen." "This is embarrassing. Where's your husband?" Some people are just jealous of happiness. I focused on the positive comments and ignored the rest. I was a grown woman making my own choices. If people didn't like it, they could unfollow me. But Monday morning at work, I got called into HR. "Oatly, we need to discuss your social media presence," said Janet, our HR director. She had my Instagram pulled up on her computer screen. "Is there a problem?" "Several clients have brought these videos to our attention. They're concerned about the image our employees are projecting online." I wasn't representing the company. This was my personal time. "Your bio lists our company as your employer. When you post content like this, it reflects on us. We're asking all employees to be more mindful of their online presence." I felt humiliated. "Are you telling me I can't dance?" "I'm telling you that provocative content featuring a married employee can create liability issues for the company. We're not forbidding anything, just asking for discretion. After the meeting, I was furious. How dare they police my personal life? How dare they make me feel ashamed for having fun? Nate tried to cheer me up at lunch. They're just jealous because their lives are boring. You're living authentically, and that threatens people. Maybe I should delete the videos. Don't you dare. You're inspiring other women to break free from societal expectations. Do you know how many messages I've gotten from women saying you've motivated them to pursue their own happiness? That made me feel better. Maybe I was helping other people by showing them it was okay to prioritize their own needs. When I got home, Caleb was waiting in the kitchen with his laptop open. The rooftop video was playing on repeat. "We need to talk," he said quietly. "If this is about the party, I'm not apologizing for having fun." Fun. He said the word like it was poison. "Ottilie, do you understand what you're doing? I'm living my life instead of hiding in spreadsheets. You're having an affair in public and documenting it for the world to see. I'm not having an affair. I'm dancing. Look at this video, Ottilie. Really look at it." He turned the laptop toward me. "Tell me what you see." I watched myself dancing with Rafa, saw how we moved together, how we looked at each other. From an outside perspective, it did look intimate, more than friendly, more than innocent. "I see two people dancing," I said, but my voice lacked conviction. "You see a married woman acting single while her husband sits at home with their children. You see someone who's forgotten she has a family. That's not fair. Isn't it? When's the last time you danced with me like that? When's the last time you looked at me the way you look at him?" I couldn't answer because I couldn't remember. "I've been documenting everything, Ottilie. Every video, every comment, every time you've chosen him over us. Do you want to see the timeline I've created?" He clicked to another tab. It was a detailed spreadsheet with dates, times, social media posts, and screenshots. He'd catalogued every interaction I'd had with Rafa, every time I'd gone out instead of staying home, every video that had gone viral. "You've been spying on me. I've been watching my marriage fall apart in real time and keeping records of it. For what? For when you finally decide what you want, because I'm done competing with your social media fantasy for my own wife's attention." The spreadsheet was devastating. Laid out like that, my behavior looked calculated and cruel. I could see the pattern he'd identified, how I'd been pulling away from him and gravitating toward Rafa, how I'd been prioritizing online validation over my family's feelings. "Caleb, I never meant for things to go this far. But they have gone this far. And now you need to decide, do you want to be married to me, or do you want to keep playing pretend with your club promoter boyfriend?" "He's not my boyfriend." "Then why does he post photos of you with captions about being worth the wait? Why do you light up when you talk about him? Why do you dance with him like you're in love?" I wanted to deny it, but the evidence was right there on the screen. I had been acting like I was in love with Rafa. I had been treating my marriage like it was optional. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to choose, tonight, right now. Delete his number, block him on everything, and commit to working on our marriage, or admit that you've already chosen him and let me move on with my life." The ultimatum hung in the air between us. I looked at my husband, really looked at him, and saw 8 years of shared history, 2 beautiful children, and a man who'd been patient with me far longer than I deserved. But I also thought about Rafa's smile, the way he made me feel beautiful and desired, the excitement of being wanted by someone new. "I need time to think," I said. Caleb's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. "Okay, take all the time you need." He closed the laptop and walked toward the guest room. "Where are you going?" "To give you space to think, but Ottilie, while you're thinking, remember that some choices can't be undone." That night, I lay in bed staring at my phone. Rafa had texted, "Can't stop thinking about tonight. You're incredible." I typed and deleted a dozen responses. Part of me wanted to run to him, to escape into the fantasy of being someone new. But another part of me knew that Caleb was right. I was destroying my family for the sake of feeling desired by a man I barely knew. I fell asleep without responding to anyone, but I didn't delete Rafa's number either. The next few days passed in tense silence. Caleb was polite, but distant, treating me like a roommate rather than a wife. He took care of the kids, maintained the household, and went to work, but he didn't try to talk to me about anything beyond logistics. "Emma needs new school shoes," he'd say over breakfast. "Okay, I'll take her this weekend," I'd reply. "I already ordered them online. They'll arrive Tuesday." It was like he was systematically removing me from family decisions, handling everything himself so he wouldn't have to depend on me. I tried to bring up the conversation from earlier in the week, but he shut me down gently. "Have you made your decision?" he asked. "I'm still thinking." "Then there's nothing to discuss yet." But while I was thinking, he was clearly preparing. The locked study had become his headquarters. I could hear him in there at night, typing, printing, organizing. Sometimes he made phone calls in a voice too quiet for me to overhear. On Thursday, I came home to find him labeling manila envelopes at the kitchen table. Each one had a different heading: financial records, property documents, insurance policies, communications. "What are all these for?" I asked. "Organization," he said without looking up. "For what?" "For whatever happens next." The communications envelope was thick with printed papers. I could see email headers and what looked like screenshots of text messages. "Are those my private messages?" "They're messages you posted publicly online. Nothing private about them." "You printed out my Instagram posts?" "I printed out evidence of your relationship with Rafa Silva. Every public post, every comment, every video where you're acting like a single woman." My face burned with shame and anger. "That's stalking, Caleb." "No, Ottilie. Stalking would be following you places or hacking your accounts. This is documenting publicly available information about my wife's behavior." "For what purpose?" He finally looked up at me. "For when I need to explain to a judge why my marriage ended." The words hit me like ice water. "You're planning to divorce me?" "I'm planning for every possibility. If you choose our marriage, we'll work on rebuilding trust, and these documents will go in the trash. If you choose Rafa, I'll need them to protect my interests and my children's welfare." "The kids?" "Caleb, you can't use the kids against me." "I'm not using them against you. I'm protecting them from the fallout of your choices." "Do you think Emma doesn't notice that Mommy goes out dancing with strange men while Daddy stays home? Do you think Jake doesn't wonder why you're always on your phone instead of playing with him?" I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. The kids had been asking questions. Emma had asked why I was famous on the computer, and Jake had started clinging to Caleb more than usual. "I'm a good mother," I said weakly. "You're a distracted mother. There's a difference." That weekend, I went to my sister Lydia's house for what I thought would be a supportive conversation. Instead, I got an intervention. "Ottilie, what the hell are you doing?" Lydia asked the moment I walked in. "Nice to see you too." "I'm serious. Mum called me crying because she saw your videos online. She's embarrassed to show her face at church." "Mom's on Instagram now." "Everyone's on Instagram now, and everyone's seen you grinding on some random guy while your husband babysits your kids." "Caleb doesn't babysit. They're his children too." "Exactly. So why are you acting like you're single?" I tried to explain about feeling trapped, about needing excitement, about how Caleb had become boring and distant. But as I talked, I could see Lydia's expression growing more disapproving. "So let me get this straight," she said when I finished. "Your husband works full-time, helps with the kids, does housework, and handles all the family finances, and you're upset because he's not exciting enough? It's more complicated than that." "Is it? Because from where I sit, you have a good man who loves you, and you're throwing it away for some club promoter who's probably using you for attention." "Rafa's not using me." "Really? What do you actually know about him? Where does he live? What's his last name? Has he ever taken you anywhere that wasn't public and photographable? I realized I couldn't answer any of those questions. Caleb came to see me yesterday, Lydia continued. My stomach dropped. What did he say? He asked me to keep some documents safe for him, legal stuff. He said if anything happened to him, I should make sure you got them. What kind of documents? I didn't look, but oddly, he seemed different, sadder, like he'd already lost something important. He's being dramatic. Is he? Because the way I see it, he's being practical. You're publicly humiliating him, and he's protecting himself. I left Lydia's house feeling worse than when I'd arrived. Everyone was taking Caleb's side, making me feel like the villain in my own life. That night, I found a note on my pillow. Meeting tomorrow, 2 p.m. Bring forms. It was in Caleb's handwriting, but I had no idea what forms he was talking about. When I asked him about it at breakfast, he was getting ready for work and barely looked at me. What meeting? What forms? You'll understand soon enough. Caleb, you're scaring me. What's happening tomorrow? Nothing that hasn't been a long time coming. He kissed the kids goodbye and left for work without another word. I spent the day in a panic, calling his office, checking our bank accounts, trying to figure out what he was planning. At 2 p.m., my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Gray? This is Jennifer Martinez from Davidson Legal Services. Your husband has requested a meeting to review some documents. Can you come in this afternoon? My hand started shaking. What kind of documents? I think it would be best if we discuss that in person. We're located downtown on 5th Street. Can you be here by 3? I hung up and immediately called Caleb, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried texting, but he didn't respond. At 2:45, I was sitting in a law office waiting room, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it. When they called my name, I followed the receptionist down a hallway to a conference room where Caleb was sitting with a woman in a business suit. Oatley, he said quietly. Thank you for coming. What is this, Caleb? The lawyer, Jennifer Martinez, gestured for me to sit down. Mrs. Gray, your husband has asked me to prepare some preliminary paperwork regarding the dissolution of your marriage. These are draft documents for your review. She slid a stack of papers across the table. The top page read, Petition for Dissolution of Marriage, in bold letters. I stared at the papers, unable to process what I was seeing. You're divorcing me. I'm giving you a choice, Caleb said calmly. You can sign these papers, and we can proceed amicably, or you can contest them, and we can do this the hard way. But either way, this marriage is over. Because I danced with someone. Because you chose someone else, repeatedly, publicly, without regard for our family or our children's well-being. The lawyer pulled out a tablet and showed me a video compilation. It was every clip of me with Rafa, edited together chronologically. Watching it was like seeing a relationship develop in fast forward, from innocent dancing to intimate embraces to the kind of chemistry that was undeniable. This will be Exhibit A if we go to court, Jennifer said professionally. Along with social media communications, witness statements, and documentation of abandonment of marital duties. Abandonment? I never abandoned anything. You've spent more time with Mr. Silva in the past month than you have with your own children, Caleb said. You've prioritized your social media presence over your family responsibilities. You've publicly humiliated your husband and exposed your children to gossip and speculation. The papers outlined everything: custody arrangements, financial settlements, division of property. It was all very fair, very reasonable, and very final. I need time to think about this, I said. You've had weeks to think, Caleb replied. I'm done waiting for you to choose our family. You've already made your choice clear. What if I ended things with Rafa? What if I deleted all the videos and focused on our marriage? It's too late for that, Otley. Too much has happened. Too much trust has been broken. I looked at my husband across the table and realized I barely recognized him. The quiet, passive man I'd taken for granted had been replaced by someone decisive and uncompromising. "You have 2 weeks to review the documents," Jennifer said. "After that, we'll file with or without your cooperation." I left the law office in a daze, the divorce papers clutched in my hands like evidence of my own destruction. I spent that night reading every word of the divorce documents. Caleb had been thorough. There were financial records going back years, detailed custody proposals, and a timeline of our marriage's deterioration that was devastating in its accuracy. He'd documented everything: the nights I'd chosen to go out instead of staying home with the family, the gradual decrease in intimacy between us, the way I'd started prioritizing social media validation over real-world relationships. It was all there in black and white, a clinical dissection of how I'd destroyed my own marriage. The worst part was the section about the children. Caleb was requesting primary custody, with supervised visitation for me, until I could demonstrate emotional stability and commitment to co-parenting. He'd included screenshots of my social media posts, showing how I'd been portraying myself as a single woman while my kids were at home wondering where mommy was. I tried calling him, but he didn't answer. I tried going to his study, but the door was locked. I could hear him in there, typing and making quiet phone calls, but he wouldn't respond when I knocked. The next morning, he was gone before I woke up. He'd left breakfast for the kids and a note saying he'd pick them up from school. It was like he was gradually taking over all parental responsibilities, building a case for why he should have custody. At work, I was a mess. I couldn't concentrate, couldn't stop thinking about the divorce papers. Nate noticed immediately. "You look terrible." "What's wrong?" "Caleb's divorcing me." "What? Why?" I showed him the papers, watching his expression change as he read through them. "Wow, he really documented everything, didn't he?" "You're supposed to be on my side, Nate." "I am on your side, but Attili, looking at this objectively, you did spend a lot of time with Rafa, and these videos do look pretty intimate. So you think I deserve this? I think you got caught up in the excitement of feeling desired, and maybe didn't think about the consequences. But divorce? That seems extreme. He says it's too late to fix things. Is it? Have you tried talking to Rafa about backing off? Maybe if you showed Caleb you were serious about ending that relationship. I realized I hadn't even told Rafa about the divorce papers. We'd been texting regularly, making plans for another night out this weekend. He had no idea that my marriage was falling apart. I called him that afternoon. "Rafa, we need to talk." "Perfect timing, beautiful. I was just thinking about you. There's this new place I want to show you tomorrow night." "I can't. My husband, he's filing for divorce." There was a long pause. "Because of us?" "Because of the videos, the public attention, everything. He says I've been having an affair." "Have you?" His voice was quieter now, more serious. I don't know. Maybe emotionally." Another pause. "Oatly, I like you. I think you're incredible. But I never meant to break up your marriage." "You didn't break it up. I did. By choosing to spend time with you instead of working on my relationship with Caleb." "So what happens now?" "I don't know. He wants me to sign the papers. Says it's too late to fix things." "And what do you want?" That was the question I'd been avoiding. What did I want? Did I want to fight for my marriage, or was I ready to start over with someone new? "I want my family back," I heard myself say, "but I don't think that's possible anymore." That night, I tried one more time to talk to Caleb. I waited outside his study until he came out, then followed him to the kitchen. "Caleb, please, can we talk about this?" "What's there to talk about? You've made your priorities clear." "I made mistakes. I got caught up in the attention and lost sight of what was important, but we can fix this." "Can we?" "Because I've been trying to fix this for weeks, and every time I think you might choose our family, you go out with him again." I'll stop seeing Rafa. I'll delete all the videos. I'll do whatever it takes. It's not about what you'll do now, Ottilie. It's about what you've already done. You humiliated me publicly, you neglected our children, and you carried on an emotional affair while posting it online for everyone to see. I never meant to hurt you, but you did hurt me, and more importantly, you hurt Emma and Jake. Do you know what Emma asked me yesterday? She wanted to know why other kids at school were talking about Mommy's dancing videos. My heart broke. What did you tell her? I told her that sometimes grown-ups make mistakes and have to face consequences, just like when she breaks a rule and has to sit in time out. You compared me to a child having a tantrum. If the comparison fits. I wanted to be angry, but I couldn't. He was right. I had been acting like a child, prioritizing immediate gratification over long-term consequences. What would it take for you to give me another chance? Nothing, because I don't trust you anymore. Even if you stopped seeing Rafa tomorrow, even if you deleted every social media account, I would always wonder when you'd get bored again and start looking for excitement somewhere else. That's not fair. Fair. For the first time in weeks, his calm facade cracked. You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that I work all day and come home to take care of our children while you're out dancing with other men? Is it fair that our kids have to hear gossip about their mother at school? Is it fair that I have to document my own wife's infidelity just to protect myself legally? I'd never seen him this angry, and it was terrifying because he was still speaking quietly, still in control. I'm sorry, I whispered. I know you are. But sorry doesn't undo the damage. Sorry doesn't erase the videos or take back the humiliation or restore my ability to trust you. So that's it. 8 years of marriage and you're just giving up. I'm not giving up, Ottilie. I'm accepting reality. You gave up months ago when you decided that your marriage wasn't enough for you. The next morning, I woke up to find an envelope on my pillow. Inside was a note. Final papers will be delivered Tuesday. Please don't make this harder than it has to be. I ran to the guest room, but Caleb was already gone. His clothes were missing from the closet. His toiletries were gone from the bathroom. It was like he'd never lived there at all. I called his office, but they said he'd taken personal leave. I called his mother, but she said she hadn't heard from him. I tried his cell phone, but it went straight to a voicemail box that was full. For the first time since this whole mess started, I was truly alone with the consequences of my choices. Tuesday morning, a process server put the end of my marriage into my hands. Caleb had filed for divorce, asked for primary custody, and backed it all up with proof. Every video, every night out, every moment I chose comments and likes over my own kids. In court, there was nothing to argue. The judge saw exactly what I'd become, a mother who treated her family like background noise while she chased attention from strangers, and a man who only saw me as content. Caleb got custody. I got supervised visits and a front row seat to the consequences of my own choices. The months after were quiet and brutal. I deleted my social media, blocked Rafa, started therapy, and tried to rebuild something real with Emma and Jake, parks instead of parties, bedtime stories instead of dance floors. Caleb moved on with a kind woman who actually showed up for my kids, and I had to accept that he was happier without the chaos I brought. My fame lived on in cringe articles about social media addiction, and every time I saw my old videos, I felt sick. I hadn't been special to Rafa or the internet. I was just another bored wife burning down her life for 3 months of attention. A year later, I'm not healed, but I'm different. I see my children every other weekend. I'm working towards shared custody, and I'm learning to find value in being their mother, not in being viral. Maybe Emma and Jake will never fully forgive me for choosing a phone over them, but I'm trying to show them, day by day, that people can change and grow. I traded 8 years of love and stability for a few trending clips and a man who's already moved on to his next story. It was the worst deal I've ever made, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life, But regret is exactly why I'm not that woman anymore.